Welcome back to the Josie Chats Wrestling YouTube channel. My name is Steve, and I'm here to review the 5th of October edition of NXT. Let's just cut into it because there's quite a lot to get into with this episode. First of all, the main event has been changed from an 8-man tag match. It's now changed into a fatal 4-way for the actual tag team championships. I feel this was the best thing to do because I wasn't excited about an 8-man tag match, but yep, I'd say excited for a fatal 4-way. Later on in the night ends up changing into a fatal 4-way elimination, which is another exciting thing to see because I'd rather see these teams go 20 minutes eliminating each other rather than 20 minutes to get one outcome. So yeah, it made more sense to me. On to the first match of the night. Mandy Rose with the rest of Toxic Attraction. She's taken on Ember Moon. Sort of a okay blase match. The only thing is neither of these people really could have done with a loss with Mandy and Ember. Ember's taken a lot of losses recently. She actually hasn't won since, I think, June on NXT TV. I know she won the other day on a 205 taping with Cora Jade, but yeah, NXT, she's just not been doing anything. And I say Mandy is sort of hit and miss at the minute, so say neither of them could have done with a loss, but Mandy picks up the win. The only probably decent highlight I'd say is that Ember delivers a decent powerbomb to the apron. That's it, really. Let's go on to the next thing. We then get a Legado del Fantasma promo. Escobar wants to challenge Swerve for that North American Championship. We all know the result of that one with Swerve and the rest of Hit Row going to SmackDown. Yeah, Santos is going to pick that up, and that's going to happen next week. On to the second match of the night, Odyssey Jones versus LA Knight. It's an okay match. It starts to get going before Andre Chase comes out, causes the distraction for Odyssey. LA Knight manages to hit him with a reverse neck breaker, and yeah, he picks up the pinfall. Very short match. Again, this is the problem with NXT. Every match is like, apart from the main event, they're all in or around the 5-minute mark. It's not really what I want to see. Yes, I'm excited to see more people wrestle, but yeah, I just feel that with all these new wrestlers, you need to have them wrestling for longer so people can get used to them. Like, a 2-minute match is not going to justify some of the skill sets that some of these wrestlers have. Cameron Grimes is then interviewed backstage. He's saying that after seeing Cora Jade and Trey Baxter and the whole Index wedding, that he's now after a lady for some reason. Pete Dunn interrupts and says that he wants a match with him, and he showed, like, I don't know, just basically to build a match for tonight, really. Kyle O'Reilly then asks Von Wagner why he saved him. He says, and Kyle O'Reilly just turns around and says, I haven't got a lot of trust with what happened earlier on in the year. Obviously, not to mention Adam Cole and what happened with all of that. Champion then is in ring for a promo. He then says that Halloween Havoc is returning. It's a Tuesday night special. It's going to be October 26th. And he wants a opponent for the NXT Championship on that night. And Shot Cora, Bron Breakker comes out and says he wants a shot at that championship. We could all see it coming. I won't lie, I'll be very disappointed if Ciampa loses that title that night. We then get Indy Hartwell and her supposedly best friend, Persia Prada. They're talking backstage, and the way they're talking is supposed to be some sort of weird sexual innuendo kind of thing about the size of Dexter Lumis's man bits, I presume. I don't know. All of a sudden, there's smoke billowing out from underneath the door, and they have the door up, and it's just Mei Ying and Boa, and Boa screams at them to close the door, get out. Then he closes the door, and they walk off, and somehow this sets up a match between Indy and Mei Ying for later on in the night. On to the next match, Ikemen Jiro versus Joe Gacy. At one point, I thought legitimately there was a guy asleep in the crowd. Turns out he's just not very sort of physically emotional person. Like, he doesn't show no excitement. I honestly thought he was asleep because this match was boring. Then Jiro has a great run of offense, and then Gacy just picks up the win with a handstand springboard into a clothesline. He then picks up Jiro and hugs him, leaves the ring, and then there's some guy just standing in the crowd that they sort of stare, exchange looks at each other. I'm almost getting a sort of Bo Dallas, Bo Leave character mixed in with Bray Wyatt at the minute with this Joe Gacy. Again, they need to, I don't know, like I said, it's just one of them ones where you got to wait and see, really. Duke Hudson then has a promo package. Apparently he's now a professional poker player. I don't know what kind of gimmick that is for a character, but sure. Then on to the next match. We were supposed to get Cora Jade versus Virginia Ferry. Frankie Monet takes Virginia out even before the match starts and replaces her. This is building off of last week and stuff like that. Trey Baxter comes out because obviously of everything that's going on, and Cora picks up the shock roll-up win on Frankie Monet. Right decision for me. I think it's great to build Cora up. Frankie's not exactly what she can't be really hurt by taking a roll-up pin. It's just a good way to prolong this story. We then get MSK backstage. They're interrupted by GYV saying that they're dodging them because they still won't do this one-on-one, which I feel is the right thing because, like I said, with the main event coming up, let's say we've never seen MSK versus Grizzled Young Veterans in a one-on-one competition. Brooks Jensen and Josh Briggs walk into the scene. They basically start a fight because this is where the point they announce it's going to be an elimination match, and then those three teams will brawl. Ciampa's then backstage being interviewed. He's talking about what's going to happen at Halloween Havoc. Joe Gacy walks in and says about his promo in ring and says that you're willing to give out people opportunities, blah, blah, blah. And he just says that he wants a shot at the NXT Championship. Ciampa says to him, if you can beat him next week, then he can be added to the main event at Halloween Havoc. So yeah, next week, Ciampa versus Gacy. If Gacy wins, he's in the main event at Halloween Havoc. Then on to the next match of the night, which for me was one of the best ones. It's Pete Dunne with Ridge Holland taking on Cameron Grimes. I'm really surprised Grimes didn't get called up in the draft. I think he's a great character. I think he'd do well on the main roster. It's just very shocking. I'd actually like to see him now go on and win the NXT Championship now, though. I think it's something that Grimes deserves for all the work he's put in over the last couple of years. Before we get into the match, there's a great spot with the crowd are chanting, "You don't go." Here's a Ridge Holland, because obviously he too has also been drafted up to the main roster. So yeah, it's just a lovely little interaction there with the crowd. This match is fantastic though. Pete Dunne is so good, and yeah, the pair of them just work well with each other. And I would like to see this being a takeover main. If they even do takeovers anymore, I'd like to see these two still do a takeover match for that NXT Championship. I think this could be one of the biggest rivalries for NXT for the next year or so. Match ends with Cameron Grimes. He's laying just sort of outside the ring across the apron, and Ridge tries to hit him with that truncheon before Kyle O'Reilly comes out and attacks Ridge. Pete Dunne manages to hit the bitter end on Grimes and pick up the windfall. Kyle O'Reilly then gets in the ring to attack Pete before him and Ridge decide to get the upper hand on him, and they knock him out. During the commercial break, Von Wagner comes out to help him up. This leads into another segment later on when Von Wagner says, look, whether you like it or not, it's you and me versus Ridge and Pete Dunne next week in the tag team match. We then get a Hit Row promo just to counter Legado del Fantasma one earlier on in the night. Yeah, like I said, he just accepts the challenge. My question is how long they're going to be on SmackDown before they actually get broken up, because after watching the draft over the last couple of days, all they seem to do is just break up tag teams and stuff like that. And yeah, I know they've still got quite a few, but I just feel like breaking up tag teams is pointless, because inevitably what you're going to do in the end, you're just going to force more people to tag together. Up next, the debut of Tony D'Angelo. He's taking on Malik Blade. Where they get these names from, I do not know. This is essentially a squash match, but it's a really strong showing for Tony D'Angelo. I look forward to seeing what else happens to him in the future. I'm really interested in the character. My only thing is he supposed to be from New York? Because he's from Illinois, so I don't know. It really weirds me in the way they had these gimmick characters, and they're not from the places. This is like the whole thing where they wanted Brody Lee, when he was Luke Harper, to put on a southern accent when the guy's from New York. It's just like, it's not going to work, but I digress. We then get Carmelo and Trick Williams. They're talking about the match coming up at the main event. Carmelo hasn't cashed in that contract, so he still has that going forward, which I think was the point they were trying to emphasize with this. Next up, Indy Hartwell with Persia Prada taking on Mei Ying. She's accompanied by Boa. I really felt that Tien Shaw, Mei Ying, and Boa have really lost all their momentum now that Xia Li is going to the main roster. Yeah, this match is self-explanatory, really. There's a good spot from the crowd chanting Mrs. Loomis. The finish of the match, we see Mei Ying going for a move on Indy into the ring post. Persia pushes Indy out of the way. She takes the shot. Indy throws Mei Ying back into the ring. She hits that springboard elbow drop for the win. It's simple as that, really. We're going to get Lash Legend talking about her successful debut of her show last week. Nothing special. Tony D'Angelo comes in and says, look, if you want a guest, you should have me on. Why not? We then get a terrible Diamond Mine package that almost looked like it was supposed to be some sort of gym recruitment / reality show advert. Again, lost all interest in Diamond Mine, really. Yeah, Ivy Nile and probably the Creed brothers are probably the only thing that interested me in that at the minute. I've really got no time for Roderick Strong at the minute. Bivens, just say, for how much people hype him up, I'm not seeing a lot from him at the minute. We didn't get Raquel Gonzalez in ring. She was basically calling out Mandy Rose and the rest of Toxic Attraction. This promo is way too long for what they were trying to get across. You essentially just want toxic attraction, saying they want all the titles. They want to go Undisputed Era-esque, and they want all the gold. They sort of surround Raquel as she's in the ring. Io and Zoe come out for the save, so nothing ends up happening there. Yeah, again, far too long, this promo. We're going to get Kyle O'Reilly backstage icing his wounds. This is when we find out that they're having a tag team match next week. After the commercial break, Io, Raquel, and Zoe are all backstage arguing. We then get Indy and Persia come into shot where they say that they want to go for their tag team titles. Zoe and Io just say, look, we won the titles from you, blah, yada, yada, yada. It's just a whole thing of building more teams for this women's tag team division on NXT. Then on to the main event. It was Josh Briggs and Brooks Jensen versus MSK versus Grizzled Young Veterans versus Kamala Hayes and Trick Williams for the tag team championships. First of all, one thing that really sort of bothered me. Beth Phoenix turns around and says MSK could lose these titles without getting pinned. Yeah, do you know how a fatal 4-way elimination match works? Because I'm pretty sure you don't. But anyway, the match is really good. It's what I expect with these teams, especially, say, Grizzled Young Veterans and MSK. Onto the first elimination. Brooks tags in Wes. Brooks is telling him to do a flip over the top rope. He runs, does it, hits Carmelo and Trick. They throw Trick into the ring. MSK hit their tag team finish and they eliminate Carmelo and Trick with the first elimination. Second elimination, GYV are doing a number on Nash in the ring. As Nash rebounds off the rope, Brooks tags himself in. GYV hit Ticket to Mayhem on Nash. Brooks comes in, takes out James Drake. Gibson thinks he's got the pinfall on Nash. The ref says no, he's not the legal man. Brooks and Briggs hit their tag team combo, which is a choke slam powerbomb double. They pick up the second pinfall. This is the point I was really shocked, and I was like, they seriously cannot be dropping these tag titles to these two guys that have had one match. That really cannot be happening. But yeah, say GYV are eliminated second. We then get on to the third elimination. After Wes being dominated for long periods of time, Jensen and Briggs try to do their double team chokeslam powerbomb move on Wes. Nash manages to take out one of them. Wes manages to reverse the powerbomb into the pinfall, and they secure it, and they retain those tag team championships. For me, GYV have to be the team to take them titles off of them. Gibson is right in what he's saying this whole time. It needs to be a one-on-one match between these two, and GYV need to do it. GYV needs to be the team to take these titles off of them. But shortly afterwards, say MSK are in the ring celebrating. Imperium come out. They attack MSK. They beat them down. Jensen and Briggs come back to save. And yeah, I presume there's going to be a match at Halloween Havoc between Imperium and MSK. Yeah, I really don't want MSK losing the titles to Imperium. I would rather see GYV pick up these titles. And you could tell with the crowd as well, as soon as GYV were eliminated, they started booing because they're such a fan favorite tag team. For heels, the crowd really wants them to succeed. And yeah, they're not booking them as well as like. There's GYV and there's Pete Dunne. They're the two people that, well, say GYV, a tag team, and Pete Dunne, they're not being booked as well as I think they should be, because Pete Dunne should be dominating the NXT roster. And the fact that he's not won that NXT championship since he's come to NXT, I don't know. And I say GYV, they're building this long build to them winning them tag teams if they do. But yeah, it needs to be them that takes them off of MSK. But all in all, thoroughly entertaining show. My only issue is to say the length of these matches, apart from the main event. I think only one other match went over 5 minutes. The rest were all under 5 minutes, but I guess it's just the way NXT are going at the minute. But yeah, hope you have a good day. I'll catch you in the next one.